Hey, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us for the Making Infor and OnBase Work Together webinar. A few housekeeping items before we get started. All the lines are muted, so please post any questions throughout this webinar in the GoToMeeting question panel, and we will make sure we answer those at the end. We have an upcoming webinar on August 5th for upgrading Kofax, and also office hours for Microsoft Power Automate on July 17th. Please make sure you go ahead and register for those on our website. If you'd like to see any of the previous webinars, all the recordings can be found also on the website. And just a little bit about myself. My name is Kayla Myers. I am one of the senior consultants here at RPI. I've been supporting, designing, implementing anything OnBase for well over 10 years now. I do specialize in healthcare and the EMR and ERP integration. I have a couple OnBase certifications and also a couple Epic certifications. And on a more personal note, I am a mom to 3 Siberian Huskies, and if I have any spare time, I do enjoy baking and scrapbooking. And now I'm going to hand it over to Alan.
Hello everyone, my name is Alan. I'm a senior consultant here at RPI. I live in California. I like to watch ice hockey and read Stephen King novels. Primarily, my work focus is on OnBase and also any of the Kofax capture and KTM products, and a little bit of yoga. So that's a little bit about me. So for today's agenda, we're going to be talking about OnBase by Highland, a quick and easy overview, integrating OnBase with Infor, OnBase solutions for human capital management and finance and supply management, and then at the end of the webinar, we'll answer any of your questions and summarize.
Thank you, Alan. So most of you have probably heard of OnBase. I'm sure most of you used it or supported it at one time or another. But for those of you that maybe want a refresher or not as familiar with it, I just want to take a few minutes to kind of review OnBase by Highland. OnBase by Highland is a powerful and versatile enterprise content services platform that many of our Infor customers use to capture, process, and store enterprise documents and content. With OnBase, it's easy to design solutions that meet any organization's specific needs. OnBase is modular by design, allowing you to tailor your solution to your exact requirements. There are 6 categories for OnBase. Those categories are capture, manage, access, integrate, measure, and store. OnBase speeds up processes and reduces costs by capturing important information into one system. That's where the name came from, OnBase One Database. You can capture including scanning, fax integration, importing, email integration, email imports, and other processes such as sweeps, directory imports. The list goes on. You're able to manage your data, documents, and processes with modules such as workflow, workflow approval management, workview, which is also known as case management, and the business rules engine. OnBase provides instant access to everyone who needs it with the integration to other applications. Also, you're able to access the Unity client, web client, mobile client, and OnBase client. And then, as I mentioned before, there are many OnBase integrations for existing ERP, EMR, CRM systems, and many more. You're able to measure your processes and system performance with business activity monitoring, reporting dashboards, logs, and diagnostics console. And then lastly, OnBase securely stores, protects, and destroys. Oh my goodness, I lost my page. Sorry about that. And lastly, OnBase securely stores, protects, and destroys your information using things like NT or LDAP authentication protocols, encrypted disk groups, encrypted keywords, and document retention policy. So a little bit about OnBase and Infor. There's several integration options for exchanging data and content in order to automate workflows and reduce manual transcriptions and processing. So let's take a look at some of these. We have things like OnBase custom script, as well as web service publishing. Web service publishing facilitates point-and-click creation of standard web services that provide access to OnBase functionality for use of external users and third-party applications. This is a no-coding interface. Web service publishing opens the door for many organizations to create data-level integration between OnBase and critical business systems. With the web service publishing, you can do keyword maintenance, electronic forms, workflow, and document imports. And then, of course, you have your custom scripting. So you can write any type of API to do pretty much anything that you need with your other applications. Another integration point would be Application Enabler. Application Enabler provides a way to seamlessly integrate an organization's core line of business application with OnBase. The configuration is point and click. Application Enabler improves employee efficiency by getting the users the information they need faster and in the context they need it. With Application Enabler, users can perform the tasks they need directly from their line of business application. So a couple things Application Enabler can do, I did not list them all, is retrieve, index, form creation, OCR, compose documents, but I actually wanted to jump into our live system here and keep your fingers crossed and provide a quick little demo. Let me close this. So I have our Infor screen open, very basic, just an HR11 screen, but just wanted to show a couple of things that we've set up and some things you can do within your organization using Application Enabler. So if I hit F8 on my keyboard, OnBase will open up with my document hit list. So I've configured this screen to find a couple different employee documents in the system, and I can see which ones link to this employee here I have open on the screen. If I do Shift F, I do get a message that I don't have any folders configured for the screen, but I could open up an OnBase folder file cabinet at this point. Shift U on my keyboard does open up an OnBase Unity form. This is just a basic one, but of course you can open any of your OnBase Unity forms that you've configured in your system. Again, this is all live. I'm clicking these buttons as I speak to you guys. And then Shift O allows me to actually upload the document into OnBase. So I am being prompted here to select the document type I want to upload. So I've selected a few documents to be allowed to be imported from OnBase with the Lawson screen. I can select any of these forms, hit OK. I could then browse to a location on my desktop and select a file. Or if I had a scanner or a camera attached, I could use the acquire button to go ahead and take that image. And then you'll notice that OnBase did capture the employee ID number because I have it configured to read off of the Infor screen for me. But I could also, of course, index any of these other fields. Let me just go back to our slide here. So I'm not going to go through these slides with the demonstration as I just provided a live one, but just a couple different things, like I said, Application Enabler can do for you. One thing I did not show that I did want to mention is there is an AE Live retrieval option. What that does is when you have it turned on, it does add this paper document icon with an exclamation mark with the number here in the corner to let you know how many documents on this screen are in OnBase. So it's looking at this, for example, this AP20 screen. I have it configured to look at an invoice number, and it's finding in OnBase that I have 4 related documents. So this is a really nice visual for some of your users if you don't want them to do a Control-Shift option or any other keyboard function. There also is this image button, so you can configure a button on your Infor screens to launch the OnBase documents as well. Again, if you don't want to have to remember some type of keystroke. And then another integration would be the Enterprise Integration Server, also known as EIS. This does connect business systems to OnBase, providing reliable real-time data exchange utilizing Microsoft BizTalk. With this module, you're able to update OnBase document metadata, update a line of business application, so that gathers data from OnBase and sends it directly to the line of business application. You can update autofill keyword sets in OnBase, and then you can also create e-forms from your line of business application for OnBase. And last but not least, we do have Yoga Connect. So Yoga Connect is an RPI product. Yoga Connect is a tool set that standardizes API interactions between important enterprise business applications like your ERP system, so Infor, ECM systems like Perceptive Content, OnBase, and then business processes automation solutions like CoFlex, Total Agility, and ReadSoft Online. So with Yoga Connect, you can quickly and easily deploy dynamic APIs for real-time data integration of financial, human resources, and other critical administrative or operational data, giving users and leaders access to information faster. So let's take a look at using OnBase with your human resources department. So one solution for this would be forms. Forms are great when it comes to onboarding new staff. So with OnBase, you can create Unity forms. These would be forms that your organization has created and or already own. So things like educational background or employee background checks, policy procedures, things like that, you're able to create in the Unity client and display to your users or onboarding staff, anything that you need them to fill out electronically. And then if you have forms that your organization do not own, but you do need them to be filled out, such as an I-9, you can actually use the OnBase image forms. So the same interface is still in OnBase Studio, but now you're importing a document and you're just pretty much putting those text boxes and check boxes on top of an image that's already there. And the nice thing about Unity forms and image forms, they can both be accessed and filed internally or externally from your system. So again, that's a great reason to use them for onboarding. And then once these forms are captured and stored in OnBase, they then of course can link to your ERP system. So that's just a demonstration there of what the form looks like when the user goes to launch the page. There's OnBase integration with Microsoft Outlook, which is a great option if you receive things like resumes, cover letters, recommendations, certifications, licenses, anything like that that you're getting via email. You can go ahead and set up the OnBase option here within your Outlook. And that allows you to then import a document, access workflow, access workview, retrieve documents, anything you need to do in OnBase, you're able to do that with the Microsoft Outlook integration tool. You can also set up one of your folders in OnBase that if you move a document to a particular folder, it will actually automatically index it for you and link it somewhere in OnBase by setting up folder rules. Another option for OnBase is using the OnBase document tracking module. This is in conjunction with OnBase folders. Document tracking is nice because you have all your, you can select a document tracking type. You can build anything you want. So for example, I have employee onboarding. In this document tracking, I'm telling OnBase to look for all my onboarded employees and tell me what files are missing. So you'll see here I have Andrew Lincoln on my list. I can go ahead and select his name, and now it opens up the actual tracking module for Andrew, and I can see any documents that I've received. So there's a check mark next to his employee information, direct deposit, things like that. And then any of the document types that have question marks on them mean that I have not received this document yet for this individual. It tells me how many days it's due and the actual date that it's due. If I wanted, I could create an exclusion. So maybe I don't want to gather a certain document for this individual for whatever reason. When I select the exclude button, it does prompt me to add an exclusion reason. So this is really nice. So that way, if anyone else is looking at this tracking module for an employee, they can see why a document was marked to be excluded. You'll notice now my travel and expenses are excluded. And if I was to go back in and look at that travel and expenses by double clicking on it, I can actually see my exclusion reason. So it creates a document for you just saying what the document type is, who did it, when they did it, and what the exclusion was. Like I said, the document tracking is used in conjunction with OnBase folders and file cabinets. So let's talk a little bit about the OnBase folders and file cabinets. I think this is really a great use case scenario, of course, for your employee records. There's a lot of paper forms that you're still gathering, or now Unity forms or image forms that really need to be filed electronically. Probably pretty similar to the way that you were filing them when they were paper and you have file cabinets all over the place. So OnBase folders allows users to view and organize documents electronically, pretty much as they would if it was a file of paper. Users can access related documents. It's the same familiar, logical, and easy way that they were doing it before. And then your folder structures can actually be automatically created or populated based on the needs of the business. So you can have a document automatically go into this folder, or you can tell them to add this document into this folder structure. So your employee folders, of course, like I mentioned before, they mimic your existing HR folder structure. They provide additional security, so now you know who's looking at that document, where before you didn't know who was looking at a piece of paper. It can be auto-foldered, and then you can also add some identifying missing documents. You'll notice here on the screen, I have a couple of documents in red. This is actually telling me that these documents were not gathered yet. So this is a really great visual, in addition to using the document tracking module, to know that something is missing in your system for a particular employee. So I know that's quite a bit, but now I would like to hand it over to Alan to kind of speak over some obvious solutions for finance and supply chain.
Thank you, Kaylin. So what processes generate the most paper in your finance and supply management workflows? Probably AP automation, packing slip automation. There are a few options with packing slips. As you all know, these are paper. So the first option would be to scan the document into OnBase, capture the PO number using Brainware or another advanced capture application like Kofax KTM or KTA. You can also key from image by manually entering the PO number, or use the OnBase ad hoc advanced capture module to extract the PO number, and then pull any other data that you might need from Infor via a lookup of some sort. The second option would be to scan the document into OnBase, capture PO number and line item using Brainware, manually enter or ad hoc advanced capture, and then pull any remaining data from Infor via the same lookup. There are many reasons to automate invoice processing. Everybody is probably experiencing some of these pain points, like physical documents being passed back and forth, continuous email streams, loss of documents, duplicates, some of the other reasons. And the benefits would be to reduce the costs, because you can process the invoices faster with less overhead. You can qualify for early payment discounts, avoid late payment penalties. You can also reduce errors. The employees focus only on exceptions instead of all of them. You reduce delays, increase percentage of straight-through invoice processing, and you can also increase the visibility of the invoices coming in. There are many different products out there that you can use for invoice process automation. You could use Yoga Email Capture, which is an RPI product, OnBase Mailbox Importer, OnBase Scanning or OnBase Sweeps, and OnBase EDI Processor to capture your invoices. Then use Brainware, Kofax Total Agility, or Kofax ReadSoft Online to capture the data off of the document. And once you have the image and the data, you can integrate with Yoga Connect or OnBase Application Enabler. So as far as approvals go, once you, lastly, you need to have the document approved once it's brought into the system. And you can use Infor APIA, OnBase Workflow, or OnBase Workflow Approval Management for that. Here's one example of invoice process automation from start to finish using just OnBase capture and OnBase approvals. You can see the documents captured, it's brought into OnBase, and then the GL coding and PO matching is done also inside of OnBase. Approval management is done also inside OnBase, and then it's sent to the ERP for posting. And vendor invoice is created automatically from that export. And the document and data integration, invoice access from Infor screens, and bidirectional data sync between the systems using like application enabler that Kaylin demonstrated earlier. And the other, here's another example of invoice process automation from start to finish using OnBase to capture and Infor for approval. So the document is captured into OnBase, but then the data is sent to Infor and the invoice is created, and then all of the other steps are done inside of Infor for the GL coding, the PO matching, and all. And the data integration, or the document and data integration, you can then retrieve the document or view the document in OnBase from using the same application enabler that we had shown you earlier. So I'm going to pass it back to Kaylin after a brief break.
Thanks. So another thing I wanted to show was the Infor Requisition Center. So this has been a hot topic lately. Looks like a lot of organizations are starting to use Rec Center in their Infor system, but they really seem to struggle with where do they put their supporting documents, quotes, invoices, any of the supporting documents that they need for this requisition. So they submit their requisition here in their Requisition Center. I'm kind of walking through a little demo here. So let's see my screen update. There we go. Once I get my requisition number, I'm then able to hit this attachment button. I may get a pop-up box telling me that OnBase is trying to open. And then same thing, I can now import my document into the Requisition Center. OnBase automatically decides what document type to use because of how I've set it up with Application Enabler. It's actually called AE Connect. It's pulling in the requisition number and then it's giving users a required data set to select of a requisition subtype. And then they could enter a PO number, but most users won't have a PO number by the time that they're actually submitting the requisition. So that's something that would probably get added after the fact. The same idea, they could then browse the location on their desktop and pull in a file. Okay, so that's one way to get your documents into OnBase with the Requisition Center, using that attachment button that links back to OnBase. Another thing we set up, which I do not have any screenshots of, is when you're actually in your requisition in basket to approve these requisitions. So of course you want to attach your supporting documents, but now you need to approve this requisition. And how do those users see those supporting documents? So it's the same idea. We've added a button on that inbox screen where users are able to click, and then that will open up your OnBase hit list of all the documents associated with that requisition number. So again, like I said, a lot of areas seem to really be using Requisition Center. So there are some options of putting all your documents in OnBase so they're in one repository. Another thing to do is really take control of your contract lifecycle management process. So you can do this within OnBase. You can create some Unity forms or workview applications to track your contract information. Things like the vendor, your pay terms, any agreements, you can upload those documents in here. Once you have this information filled out, you can send it to an OnBase workflow. And that way people are approving this contract with this vendor. So maybe you need the legal department to look at it or a manager to look at it. You can also set up workflow to remind you when the contract is about to expire, or if you need to look at something again. So using OnBase to manage your contracts in conjunction with your ERP system is a really great tool. Just to really, again, have everything in one place. It gives you one complete view of all the information, the tasks, activities, and then your correspondence increases your employee productivity by eliminating the need to jump between multiple applications or spreadsheets or file shares. And then don't forget, of course, with OnBase, you have the benefits of reporting. So you can use dashboards or things like that to really view where things are at day to day and in the life cycle, the life of the contract.
So summary and questions. OnBase is a powerful enterprise content service platform that many Infor customers use to capture, process, and store unstructured content. Integrating OnBase content and workflows with Infor will automate many of the manual processes and tasks that occur between the systems. Do we have any questions out there? Well, thank you for attending our webinar Wednesday with RPI Consultants. You can find this webinar recording and all previous webinars on our website. And we're also offering a free automation assessment. We can identify enhancement opportunities for current solutions, intelligent data capture, enabled automation, automated decisions and tasks to reduce errors and delays. Identify opportunities for new solutions and departments, and license and module inventory. We'll take a look at your licensing and modules and see what you can use. And the upcoming webinars again are upgrade to Kofax ReadSoft on August 5th, and we have an office hours for Microsoft Power Automate on July 17th. So for any additional resources for upcoming and previously recorded webinars, you can go to rpi.com, webinars, OnBase Knowledge Base, and OnBase Professional Services.
Hey, Alan, real quick before we jump off the webinar, it did look like we had one question come in,
Sure.
and they wanted to know which version of Infor we were demoing with in the demo that we showed.
Kaylin?
That was Infor 11, I believe. Let me come back up there and make sure, but I believe I was on 11.
Oop.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was using Infor 10. 10.070. However, I have set it up before with OnBase 11 as well.
Okay. And Kaylin, even with the demo, with version 10, was that Cloud Suite version 10, or was that a on-prem installation?
The demo was on-prem, but we can definitely do the same with Cloud Suite. It's just our sandbox that we have here, so it's just using the on-prem. But yeah, we definitely can do the same thing with the Cloud Suite as well. Actually, send this up for a customer as we speak.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thanks. That's all the questions.
Okay. And a little bit about RPI Consultants. We got about 100 full-time consultants. We're based in Baltimore, Maryland, and we offer technical and professional services. So thank you all again for attending. From Kaylin and I and Mike, thanks for attending and have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.